Hello. Okay, so in this video, I want it to be a very quick, short, technical, conceptual video. So let's talk about the imperative versus declarative programming, right? And which one of it is better. See, the thing is, let me first go and open this Excel draw, right? And let's talk about this. Basically, we want to talk about imperative versus declarative programming. Programming is kind of like you can remove it away if you want. Let me open this like this. Okay, so this is one of the debates that keeps on happening, and that is about what is better, imperative or declarative. The problem with this debate is that fundamentally all declarative programming is essentially imperative programming, which is done by somebody else. So for example, if in React you are using a declarative approach, it is because the React team and other open source developers who are contributing to that React library have written imperative underpinning of this entire declarative approach. What do I mean by that? Well, basically what I want to say is, imagine that this is a declarative programming, right? This is, say, declarative code. Okay. Thing is, you cannot write this declarative code unless there's something called imperative code, which is kind of like covering it. I can make it transparent and I can say imperative code. You see, unless and until there's no imperative code present, okay, you cannot have a declarative code. So let's understand what is imperative code and declarative code, and like these are big words. So in fundamentally, you won't be able to understand what I'm saying here unless you understand in a very definitive manner what are these two. So technically, imperative code is basically step by step instructions given to the computer to execute, to do some work. Okay, and when I say computer, I mean you can also say website. This went bad in terms of design. Okay, you can say website, or you can say app, whatever you want, doesn't matter, right? This is basically imperative code, where you provide step-by-step instructions as to what happens in each steps where you want to do something. Okay, and declarative code is basically defining the what of the states. What of the states? We can say states in a sense, say UI state, okay, code logic state, you can call whatever you want. What of a state you want. So basically, if I example, right, and just to expand this, declarative programming is also using somebody else's imperative code, and that's about it. Make sure to understand this line. This is the highlight of this small technical concept. Declarative code is nothing but using somebody's else imperative code. Okay, we'll see the example in action in a little while, and let's directly go to the example. So basically, I have created this index.html where I have said imperative versus declarative. Okay, and let's also make sure that this is live. Let me stop this for now. Okay, wait a minute. I will be back once this is available. Yeah, now it is available. So here we are. Okay, I will also make this big, say 200. Now let's give it a count. That was a wrong word. Okay, let's give it a count, and we can have a span with id of count, which can be 0. Let's see how it will look. Okay, fine. And now what I want to do is, on button, I can say increase count. And here I can say on click, simply set count. Call this. Okay, now this will give an error. So for that, I will include a script src, and I can say script.js. Now here I will come back and say script.js, and now we can actually write our code. Let's define this set count for a moment and see whether it is working fine or not. So function set count, let's simply say console log and 1, or we can say alert 1. Let's go back, click, and yes, now it is working. Okay, so what is the imperative approach to increase this count? Well, the imperative approach here will be, I can remove this. First I will get the button. No, first I will get the count element, and for that I will need query selector, and then I will need count. Okay, if I have to update this, I need to get this, right? So I'm saying get me this imperative approach. Let me just write it in plain English first. So imperative approach, get the element which needs to be changed. Okay, that's step 1. Second step is create a function. Second step will be create a function that updates the value. Let's see, we'll make sure that this actually is better in terms of imperative approach. So we are first getting this element, right? Then we will be creating a function called set count, which is what this is. And what should it do? Well, first of all, it should also select a button, and it should, on click of this button, it will already will be activated. So here it should get this count element, and it should increase this count text element right here with say 1. Okay, now it does not matter how many times I say that, because I'm just inputting it. So basically, next is that updates the value. Well, how should it update the value? It should convert the text retrieved into a number. It should then add 1 to it. It should then update the DOM with the new value. Okay, so this is imperative approach, where first we will get the element where we have to make the change, right? Then, because we have done it like this way, so we don't have to get the element where we have to press, right? unless if we don't supply it like this, then we also have to get the button, we have to do all sort of things there as well. But let's make it simple. When we press the button, we are going to run this. Okay, so what should happen inside the function then? Well, the function should convert the text retrieved into a number. So this is the, like, we have to get first of all the value. Okay, let's get that. So we will say current value equals count element value, not this value. Okay, and this should be a number. Cool. We will also, let's alert this out as well, just to be sure that it is working fine. And it says none, so we will have to have text content 0. Okay, then we have already converted it. Okay, then we will say now have a new value, which will be current value plus 1, and then we should update the DOM. So count element text content new value, and this should happen every time. So this is imperative approach, where we are first getting this. Basically, we are following all this step and we are writing code for it. So this is an imperative approach where we are directly interacting with the DOM, right? We need to have an understanding of the DOM, and we have to have like a step-by-step process to update the value, and this will work. Okay, now this is an imperative approach. So what should be the declarative approach of the same thing? Well, what we can do here is we can abstract out all this logic from the set count, and we can say, let's say declarative.js, and here our approach will be quite like simple way. We can say const count object or something, and then we can say get value, right? That could be like we have to get the value. Okay, so let's get the value using this, and we can remove this. We are first getting the value, and then we will simply return it from like this. Okay, so the moment we call this, we are going to get the value. Whatever the value is, we don't have to worry about how we are actually getting it, right? Second, we are going to say set the value, and this will be getting the value. And finally, we will get back here. We will again have to get this. Okay, and then we will have to do this. Cool. If you look here, this is our imperative code, because we are still getting it. We are still like, we are returning it, but we are writing step-by-step logic here, right? But here, if we come back and we say set count, right, what should it do? Well, first of all, it should get the value, right? So we can say current value equals, this can be exported if you want, or this can be like module exported. For the simplicity here, I can just paste it here because I don't want to have the import export scenario right now. But we can say count dot get value. Now notice this is a declarative approach where we have just told the PC or told the computer or told the, say, program to just get the value. I don't care how you are getting the value. This is imperative approach, but this is declarative approach. What should happen? How it should happen. Okay, how it should happen is imperative. What should happen is declarative. Got it? How it should happen is imperative. What should happen is declarative. Okay, next we can say set count dot set the value to be current value plus 1. Okay, what should happen? How it should happen? How it should happen is imperative. What should happen is declarative. So in this whole thing, if you look at in very big picture, is we fundamentally are writing, imagine that this is coming from somebody some place else, right? From the declarative from here, right? This is coming from here. So just imagine that, and the way we can actually think about it is, if we do this, pretty sure it is possible. If we have this previously, right, then this will be like saying this is already present here. Let's go and see. Yeah, it is working. So basically I'm saying this is imperative, not declarative. Okay, and we have to simply call it this. Okay, so if you look here, this is a declarative code where we are declaring to the program, you know what, give me the current value, and then I'm again declaring set the current value to +1, and that's about it. I don't have to worry about anything. Like, I'm not worrying about the implementation of it, because I'm simply telling the code, I'm declaring the code to do something, to change the value, to change the state, to change something like that, right, in a declarative manner. But for this declarative thing to actually work, somebody has implemented it in an imperative sense. Got it? I hope it is understood. Somebody has to implement or do the imperative programming for the declarative to actually work. In other words, neither of them are superior or inferior. From the end user perspective, let's put it that way, if you are end user development perspective, declarative approach is easiest or easy approach, right? And fundamentally good developer experience if you are doing a declarative code, because as you can see, I don't have to worry much about it. But this is only possible because somebody else has written an imperative code on which you are building your declarative code. Okay, somebody else has done a lot of imperative work so that you can write your declarative code. So this whole paradigm or this whole debate about which is better, imperative or declarative, is a bad debate in a first, and it is coming from the place of ignorance in my sense, in my understanding, that nobody, whoever says this now, apart from the clickbaity title, and has a strong position on it, do not understand that, well, you cannot have declarative without imperative. Second, most likely all your so-called declarative code will eventually be having or will spill into the imperative zone in a very fast manner. Like, even if you're writing, say, React application, the chances are that you're doing imperative coding in that is also high, wherever there's some sort of like a business logic is involved, which is too complex for whatever the declarative way, in whatever manner the declarative is not, I mean, which is not aided by the React core library, right? You end up writing the imperative code anyways. And there are places where you actually do write some sort of like a use, under the use effect, you might have to do certain sort of like tinkering that is also imperative. So that is something that I want you to, you know, take it from this small technical conceptual video, that there's no such thing as which is better. Every declarative code is only possible because there's an imperative code behind it, and most likely your declarative code will end up soon in the imperative zone eventually, if your app is complex or your website is complex. And that's it. Thank you for watching. If you like this, subscribe to the channel and like this video as well. If you have any comments and you think that I'm wrong, comment, correct me, and that's about it. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.